Sue, this is probably a good one for you. Based on the magnitude and depth, how far will this likely be felt and what damage might be incurred?
Yeah, I already addressed that a little bit. And as far as the fault goes, it's known that there are secondary faults that are in proximity to the faults we know about. So an earthquake this small, as Lucy said, it can be difficult to figure out. The shaking that's been reported has been felt out to a distance of about 60 miles or 100 kilometers. Most of that information comes from the Did You Feel It system, which that I've seen has remarkably few responses.
I just updated it, Sue. There's over 5,000 responses
okay,
now.
They're great. There may have been some backlog because they were getting too much information. So, relatively weak shaking would have been felt over most of the greater Los Angeles region, which has an awful lot of people. The strongest reported shaking at this point is what we call intensity 5. That's strong enough to knock things off of shelves in the immediate area. It's not generally strong enough to cause any structural damage in a modern built environment.
I would say, I didn't feel it because I was in the middle of my exercise routine. People felt it though farther away. Keep on going east, you get out to San Bernardino and Riverside, and you're having some people feel it there. It is striking that some of the strongest shaking, not surprisingly, but it's right down the west side of Los Angeles, right? Because you're going to get a bit of amplification if you've got deep sediments, which you do along the west side, and those it's still pretty close to Malibu. So it seems to have been pretty widely felt, even up to definitely intensity 3 and some of intensity 4, even as far south as Irvine. So
to jump back in, I think the system may have been bogged down because so many responses were coming in so quickly. Yeah, there is felt shaking out to about 200 kilometers and a little bit beyond. Weak shaking, as Lucy suggested, you'll feel it if you're sitting quietly. If you're moving around, you may not notice it. That's common. There are accounts of shaking at intensity 6 and above, which starts to, maybe crack plaster. But this is all preliminary information, and there's going to be a lot more data that's coming in that people will be looking at.
Okay. Ron asks, can you elaborate more on how we've been feeling more quakes? We have had more magnitude 4s in the Southern California area this year, more than average, right? The average being about 8 magnitude 4 sequences. That's the sequences with at least one magnitude 4, right? If you have a magnitude 6, you trigger lots of magnitude 4s. So we're not looking at that. So the separate sequences, long-term average of about 8. So far, we've had 14 in Southern California. The largest previous year was 13. Notice these numbers are small, however. So yes, we are feeling it, but it's not yet statistically significant. Right? And that's a big issue. Seismologists look for patterns. Everybody looks for patterns. That's why we have myths of earthquake weather and animals, and all of these things are us trying to form a pattern in what is inherently a random distribution, because we feel better when we know what the pattern is. But when we test the pattern, we can't make it for certain. So yes, we have already had more separate sequences of magnitude 4s this year in Southern California than we have seen in the past by one sequence now. But because it's small number statistics, that doesn't mean we've had a fundamental rate and change. It might. We have seen some more and less active time periods in different regions, but we can't say that it means that for certain yet. And
just to jump in, people have looked back at past patterns before large earthquakes, and they've concluded that earthquake activity goes up in a region before a large earthquake. Some people have concluded that earthquake activity goes down before a large earthquake. You're sort of looking for patterns in the clouds. When you know when an earthquake is and you look back, you can usually often find some sort of pattern. And so the question is, do patterns have any predictive meaning? And as Lucy said, that when you do the tests rigorously, they just don't.
We have a couple of more questions. Had some association of it before, but The possibility that this is a foreshock, it's the same as any other earthquake in Southern California, which is about 5% of the time, one of the aftershocks gets bigger than the first one, and we change the name and call the first one a foreshock. So 95% chance that we won't.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you, but there will be a USGS forecast for this event, an aftershock forecast. I'm not sure if it's up yet, but there will be numbers giving the aftershock probabilities and the probabilities of a larger event.
Right. Important. Thank you. Yes, the USGS creates event pages for every event, and essentially everything you've been asking us, you can find on the event page. But it's and it does include, when the numbers get run, an aftershock update. And then you keep track of what the aftershocks have been doing, and again, the possibility that it's a foreshock.
I'm not seeing it yet. It may take about half an hour, and to look at how many aftershocks are occurring, and that lets us refine the forecast.
Okay. And we can, yes, for those who are uncertain about it, I will. I thought I could put something in a chat. In the question and answer period, if somebody has put up the website, I'm actually not sure I can. Yeah, I can only answer to the host and panelists. Jacob Margolis has raised his hand. Please put the question in the question and answer. We are not yet ready to have active questioning going on, because we'd rather do it through the chat.
If you're just joining us, everybody, welcome to Good Day LA here at 8 o'clock. We are continuing our earthquake coverage. We did experience a 4.7 magnitude earthquake epicentered in Malibu, about 5 miles from Westlake Village. We're going to have new information, of course, as it becomes available, because the magnitude of the quake, it continues to change. USGS first said 5.1, then it went to 4.6, now it's at 4.7. So we're going to be staying on top of that as we come into our 8 o'clock hour.
And we just heard from seismologist Lucy Jones answering a bunch of questions, saying that this was, in fact, this has been a more active year when it comes to earthquakes than we've seen in years past. Whether that's statistically significant is still up in the air. But this earthquake happened at 7:28 this morning, 5 miles north of Malibu. The shaking could be felt for up to 60 miles. I've been getting video and pictures in. We've been getting responses on Twitter. I actually got a number of responses from people who really live all over the place, as far as North Hollywood, Pacific Palisades just came in. Pendant Light was swaying. This damage from this earthquake, according to Lucy Jones, is not necessarily enough to do structural damage to a home. Usually,
she was saying about, usually when it gets like a 5 or above, you tend to see structural damage to your home or to your local communities. But yeah, I mean, folks even in Irvine, Orange County, Anaheim, we felt it pretty sizably here in West LA. That's where our studio is situated, because we're close-ish to the Malibu community. It started as, and y'all maybe experienced this as well, it started as kind of a slower roll, and then that bit of a jolt really kicked in. And of course, because of the unpredictable nature of an earthquake, it's jarring. I've lived in here my whole life, and it's still jarring, and it still gets you.
Especially because of where we're situated on the west side here, because of the deep sediments in the earth itself. You might have felt it more so than in other parts of Southern California. But I want you to take a look right now from our Santa Monica camera. This is located at Wilshire. In Ocean, you can see the moment that the rattling started happening. Boy, that camera, you can see, is going back and forth pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, significant rattling here on the west side, and especially if you were in Malibu, I'm sure you felt it all the more.
Yeah, absolutely. And that that camera is situated right near Wilshire Boulevard and Ocean Avenue. So 4.7 magnitude quake right around 7:28 this morning, epicentered in Malibu, 5 miles from Westlake Village. There was an aftershock about 2.7, 2.5 maybe, around 7:30 that also transpired. And we've talked to some residents. We talked to a woman in Malibu just about her experience. She was on the phone with Home Depot And then this happened. She peeked outside of her window, didn't really see neighbors congregating in the streets. There was no loss of power. We communicated with her.
But we do have Gabrielle Delgado. She's a Pepperdine student in Malibu on the phone right now. Gabrielle, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Gabrielle, first of all, how are you doing? I know it's always rattling the nerves when something like this happens. So how are you doing first and foremost?
Other than being a little shaken this morning, I'm doing pretty well.
What did you, so the moment that the earthquake happened, what were you feeling? What were you seeing?
Yeah, so I was getting ready for class, so I was in my dorm room, and the earthquake shook, and it was definitely a surprise, and I could hear the construction workers outside my window and other students walking to class, like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And then the USGS alert on my phone was going off, so there's a lot happening at once.
What was the communication like at Pepperdine? Did they send an email following? Did they send an alert school-wide? What was that like?
Yeah, so a few minutes after the earthquake, we received an email from the university basically just telling us that the earthquake happened, they're monitoring the situation, just making sure that all the buildings are secure.
Yeah, did you, as you looked around, I mean, was there anything that happened in your dorm room or with your roommate?
No, so my roommate was asleep and nothing got knocked over in my room, so everything really does seem to be intact, and even looking out the window right now to all the other dorms, everything seems fine.
Nice, because you were right there. I mean, Pepperdine is really very much situated in the heart of Malibu, which is where the epicenter of this quake was.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had one, I believe that it was last spring, that was also right in the epicenter of Malibu, so
have you been able to
it's definitely something that Pepperdine students are used to.
Have you been able to communicate with your family? I'm sure they were concerned.
Yeah, so I texted my parents right after it happened. They're up in Central California, so they didn't feel it, but they're definitely making, every time there's an earthquake, I make sure to message them and let them know what's going on.
Of course, because I'm sure they're worried about you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Gabrielle Delgado, thank you so much for your perspective on that. Stay well. And yeah, I mean, it's also interesting to note that according to Lucy Jones, because we just heard her do that live, question and answer session, which she typically does after earthquakes.
She's
of this
the earthquake
magnitude.
expert.
She really is. Yeah. So she says that usually we see 8 earthquakes a year with a magnitude of 4 or higher. This year so far, we've seen 14. And I know that it always becomes the question, is this the number of these earthquakes, because they've almost doubled from the previous years on average. Does this mean anything?
Yeah.
Is this significant in any way as a precursor to perhaps the big one? And she says that has nothing to do with it. But these are the kinds of questions that she tends to get, over and over again. Especially, we just had a 4.6 magnitude earthquake in not the same exact location, but in Malibu as recent as February 9th.
Right. And I think the other piece that she noted that really resonated with me was this whole idea of patterns and how in situations like this, you want to connect the dots and you want to be able to identify a pattern. And some people want to look to the weather or maybe look to, animals or look to something, right? But she was very clear in saying that it has nothing to do with the weather. It has nothing to do with really anything else. The pattern might bring us comfort, but there really isn't necessarily a pattern that we can tap into, even as far as a determinant for a bigger quake, because that's something that's very much on the minds of many folks all throughout Southern California is the big one, as people have talked about for many years. So her perspective is always invaluable. For sure. All right, so joining us now on the phone is Lieutenant Adam Zecco. He's the county sheriff from Malibu, who can provide us with an update there. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant. So can you kind of give us a bigger picture as to what's going on right now? I know we felt that 4.7 magnitude quake, 7:28 this morning. So what's the latest there?
The latest information that I have is that we're not, the deputies that are doing critical facilities checks, they're not reporting any major damage to any of the infrastructures, which include bridges, water lines, gas lines. They're not reporting anything significant.
And so nothing from any, you're saying that there's nothing from any residents in the local community of anything significant or any damage that's transpired in any local community there?
That's correct.
Lieutenant, what kind of calls have you been getting into the, I believe you're with the Lost Hills Sheriff Station?
That's correct. Yeah, we also cover the Malibu area as well, and the primary phone calls that we're getting are from alarm companies of just alarm activations, which is completely normal for a type of event like this.
What do you advise people to do? I mean, I know that, if you live here in Southern California, you're kind of used to it by now, but just what would you advise people to do in a situation like this?
Well, if there's aftershocks, for them to take appropriate safety measures to protect themselves and their loved ones. And then, looking forward to the future, to just be prepared for emergencies, have those water and food supplies on hand.
I think those are good tips, especially when these smaller events happen. I think it's a good reminder to, if you don't have your earthquake kit prepared, or if you haven't updated it, that it's maybe good to consider doing that in preparation for the next one.
Exactly.
And do you all have information on your website as to what folks could put in that earthquake kit if they're not sure what needs to be assembled?
I'm not quite sure if we have information like that on our website. It's going to be lasd.org if we do. If not, I'm sure that there's other county agencies that will have that information.
All right, Lieutenant. Thank you very much.
All right, have a good day.
You as well. All right, so now we are going to Gigi Graciat. She is in Wrightwood, actually, covering another major event, the wildfires out there, but now you find yourself in the middle of this situation. Gigi.
That's right, and I did feel the earthquake. My first hint that something was going to happen were the two critical alerts that I received on my phone. I don't know if you can zoom in. Photographer Tony Butita, you'll see my shake alert, earthquake, drop cover, magnitude 5.0 earthquake in Los Angeles. That was the preliminary magnitude, and we're going to click on that and see if there's any information that comes up. No, that's it. Just the critical alert. My phone started ringing. I immediately notified my photographer, Tony Butita, who was standing outside the van talking to some firefighters. Of course, we are up here in Wrightwood covering the bridge fire. And moments after receiving this alert, the van did start to shake. So it was felt all the way up here in Wrightwood. I've been in touch with a lot of my friends. They felt it in Camarillo, in Ventura County, in Orange County, Downey, Glendora, Woodland Hills. People have been tweeting me, Orange County, Baldwin Park. It was felt throughout. This was a very shallow earthquake. Of course, we heard from our earthquake guru, Dr. Lucy Jones. This was a shallow quake, so it was felt in a very wide pattern. We're talking about Ventura County, LA County, Orange County, and I'm in Wrightwood on the border of LA County and San Bernardino County, so it was also felt here. The earthquake, my shake alert did work. Interestingly enough, we had an earthquake in Los Angeles where I did not get an alert, but did feel the shaking. But up here in Wrightwood, we were alerted to it. We had time to get out of danger. If we had been in danger, thankfully, we were not. But the shaking, it was a good little shake.
Yes, it was. All right, Gigi, thank you for your coverage on both the earthquake and the wildfires this morning. Anything else? Southern California? Thank you, Gigi.
Well, of course.
Right? Okay, we're going to take a short break, and then we will be right back.
back.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, 8:15 on this Thursday morning. We did experience at 7:28 this morning a 4.7 magnitude earthquake. This was in Malibu, 5 miles from Malibu, followed by 3 separate aftershocks. It struck at a depth of 7 miles below the Earth's surface. You could feel the shaking for up to 60 miles, according to seismologist Lucy Jones, around the epicenter in places like Burbank, Santa Clarita, Long Beach, and Anaheim.
Yeah, and we now have a resident of the Malibu community, Denise Teague, who's on the phone for us right now to offer us some insight into what she experienced. Denise, good morning to you. Thank you so much for being with us. How are you doing?
Hi.
Could you also, I'm sorry, could you turn down your TV just a little bit just so we can hear you more clearly?
I'm doing okay. A little scary, a little shaken.
What were you doing when the quake hit?
I was, actually, it's my daughter-in-law's birthday today. I've been up since 4:30 because my,
Denise, can you still hear us?
I think maybe turn your TV down.
I can hear you now.
Okay, okay. Okay.
Can you hear me?
So yes, Denise, if you could do us a favor, could you turn your TV down so we can hear you a bit more clearly?
Yes, I'll be happy to. And actually, it's Peak, P-E-A-K,
Peak.
not Peak.
Okay, Peak. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Denise. So tell
you
us
hear me
when
now?
the
Yeah, we can hear
tell
you.
us when the earthquake happened. What did you exactly experience?
Okay, so it's my daughter-in-law's birthday today, and I've been up since 4:30. My boyfriend actually is working on a set this morning, so he left very early. And I was in my office, and I was doing a birthday card for her, and all my pictures in my office, about 5 of them came down. And the ground was just shaking really hard, and I just kind of sat there and composed myself, and I've been through this many times. I've lived in Malibu since 1969.
Oh, wow.
But I've lived on the Point since 1980, and my kids all live. My daughter lives in Seminole Springs. My daughter lives on the Point, but she was driving her kids to school in the Palisades, and my son lives on Point Doom, and he was already out working. So it's kind of shaky. It's kind of weird being alone when it happens. Usually I'm around my family, so yeah, I'm a little shaken up, but I'm hanging in there. I kind of looked outside. The birds were acting a little strange. I don't have any pets.
That's right. So yeah, that's interesting that you say that,
barking,
Denise. Yeah, because we've heard, I mean, from multiple people that their own pets have gotten sick. They're especially sensitive to events like this. And yeah, you notice some strange behavior with the birds. Yeah, not surprising. Not surprising at all. Well, I'm sorry that your day had to start off like that. You and so many other people in our viewing area.
Oh, yes. I'm very used to it, unfortunately. But yeah, this was probably the closest I've been in terms of the epicenter to it. So.
Well,
we've had other ones, though, this year, it seems like, as well.
That's right. February 9th, there was that 4.6 magnitude earthquake in the same general area.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us, Denise, this morning. We thank you for your perspective, and we hope that things are a little bit more calm throughout the rest of the day. In the meantime, everybody, we're going to go now to give you a look at our Ontario airport camera and show you some perspective from there and the shaking that transpired from that cam in Ontario this morning. As you can see, I mean, as Dr. Lucy Jones mentioned, folks are feeling this for up to 60 miles outside of that epicenter in Malibu. And
let's get to our reporter here at Fox 11, Matthew Seedorf. He is on the phone right now. Matthew, good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah, what a way to wake up this morning.
You
Who
think?
needs an alarm clock when you have this?
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I'm in the Torrance, Redondo Beach area, and I was asleep, actually. And I got the MyShake app, and I got the alert probably 10 seconds before. And then it just felt like the mattress was getting pushed towards the kitchen and back, probably for about 10 seconds or so, and the sound of like almost like a distant thunder. I do have 2 dogs, and they were barking, and I don't know if they were barking because they heard the Shake app or if they, were barking because of the actual earthquake itself. But definitely got the heart rate going this morning, especially for being in bed.
Oh, no doubt about it. We were sitting here on the set, doing the show, and it started as like a slow roll. And then when that jolt kicked in, yeah, my heart started raging too. My stomach kind of dropped.
How many seconds would you say that was, Melvin?
Oh,
we were feeling it.
It seemed like, that's the thing with the earthquakes. It seems endless. Right? It seems endless. And when the jolt kicked in, I don't know if you felt like this, Matthew, and folks at home, when the jolt kicked in, I thought, oh boy, is this about to really turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like it could get worse. And obviously you don't know. That's the trouble with earthquakes, is you don't know if it's going to get worse.
Matthew, well, you're fairly new to the Southern California area. So far, I mean, this week alone, we've had 3 wildfires, now an earthquake. I guess welcome to Los Angeles, right?
No kidding. No kidding. Yeah. I mean, I was out covering wildfires the other day. Now we have a pretty, good jolt of an earthquake this morning. And, yeah, welcome to Southern California.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people in our viewing area, it's something that happens quite a bit, unfortunately, but it's also something that it never doesn't surprise you when it actually does happen. You never know how long it's going to last, how bad it's going to be. So no matter who you are and how long you've lived in this area, it is still a little scary when something like that happens.
I've been here for, I think, 3 now, and the first 2 were just kind of like, oh, I think that was an earthquake, and this one was like, oh, that's definitely an earthquake. It's always in the back of your mind, but yeah, you never know when it could happen.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much, Matthew, for calling in and giving us some perspective, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a short break, everybody. More earthquake coverage on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
8:24 on this Thursday morning. If you're just joining us, we did experience at around 7:28 this morning a 4.7 magnitude earthquake, with the epicenter being in Malibu Beach. The shaking could be felt for up to 60 miles, we're being told, because we just checked it with Lucy Jones, our seismologist here. So we're going to have team coverage. We'll have updates for you and continuing coverage on this earthquake all morning long. But for right now, let's get over to Maria for a check on our forecast. At least it's cool out there. That's the only thing good we have going on.
That's correct. Some great news coming from the weather department. And as Dr. Lucy Jones pointed out, there is no correlation between the weather and earthquakes. I know we like to try to pull that, right? With the change in our weather, the pattern certainly shifted and changed from the heat wave that we had to that dramatic drop in those temperatures yesterday. And so we felt that big cool down. So yes, indeed, you may have felt the shaking and then some little aftershocks after that, a little cluster of it. I think the strongest aftershock was a 2.8 just a few moments later. But yes, we felt it here pretty good. We're feeling the temperatures outside right now. It feels like fall a little bit. The clouds, the onshore flow is with us, and that marine layer, which is a good thing. It's really helping the firefighters. The winds have been quite gusty still, though, especially up towards the high desert. The wind advisories are still in effect there. Look at our winds right now at Sandberg, 30, 35 miles per hour. It's calmed a little bit in Palmdale, but Victorville near 5 to 10. The winds are calmer in Orange County and parts of near Lake Elsinore. So that's a good thing. 16 mile per hour winds at Edwards Air Force Base. A little bit more calm near Murrieta towards Lake Elsinore. These are the advisories and weather alerts still in place. Dry conditions still for this small sliver, this pink area where we're still looking at some extreme fire weather conditions. So red flag warnings will continue in effect at least for another couple of hours. And then wind advisories elsewhere, which, by the way, does include portions of that Wrightwood, some of the mountains here for LA County. Air quality really poor, hazardous because of the smoke naturally from those fires. So you want to stay indoors. You want to stay healthy and away from the fire, the fine particulate matter from those fires. Temperatures right now really comfortable in the 50s and 60s. Temperatures as we get to the remainder of the week look really good. We're going to hang on to this pattern. In fact, 78 today for downtown LA, cooling to 70. That's it, barely out of the 60s on Monday. So it's definitely going to be sweater weather with that chance even for some showers. All right, stay with us. We're going to have more on the earthquake plus the rest of the news and weather and traffic in just a few moments.
Welcome back, everybody. It is 8:30 on a Thursday morning. Great to be with all of you.
Yes, thanks so much for joining us. Okay, so we do begin with some breaking news. If you felt it, a 4.7 magnitude earthquake striking this morning at 7:28, centered 4 miles north of Malibu, with 3 aftershocks to follow. Here's how we experienced it live on air. Take a look.
Yeah, we're having an earthquake right now. Whoa! We are, whoa.
Okay.
Okay, so, we're staying on, we're here. That is an earthquake that we just experienced.
That's still going.
That's still going.
Yeah, so I mean, it's always disconcerting when something like that happens, especially if you're live on air like that. Yeah, again, the quake hit at 7:28 this morning. Felt for 60 miles. The shaking as far away as Burbank, Santa Clarita, Long Beach, Anaheim. Luckily, we're not hearing any reports of any injuries.
Yeah.
My stomach dropped. My heart started racing.
Right.
And you've been here a long time, too. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I was ready to get under the desk. You know, I'm right on the other side of this wall right here.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really tell with the cameras. These cameras are really steady, but everything up here was just going crazy. All the ceiling lights and everything. So I was ready to jump underneath the desk. Amanda, I think I saw your hair shaking a little bit.
Yeah, the updo was rocking.
Yeah, it was rocking. Listen, Dr. Lucy Jones said typically when it gets to that 5 intensity, 5 to 6, that's when we start to see those pictures falling off the wall, and we get to see like cracks on the wall and some of the, you know, the, what do you call that?
Plaster.
Yeah, the plaster.
Yeah.
So at 4.7, depending on where you were to the epicenter, you definitely felt it good.
Yeah.
And we did here.
Certainly.
No correlation to weather.
She noted that in her press conference.
She already preceded the questions because she knew the questions were coming.
Folks looking for patterns to make us feel calm, right?
Yes.
We do that, but we want to say, oh, it's because of the weather. It's because it's been hot.
Yep.
Not the case.
Or it's been changed. You know, it was hot and now it's really cool.
Yeah.
So speaking of the cool weather, shall we talk a little bit about that? Maybe we can give everybody a heads up about how this is going to stay with us. The cooler weather most definitely helping out firefighters, so they're really encouraged by this. The onshore flow has returned. We've got the marine layer, and it has really added some moisture into the atmosphere, and it is, of course, is adding the, well, it's mitigating fire danger right now. Here is just the information again, that 4.7 that occurred at 7:28. There were several aftershocks. One of the stronger ones at 2.8, just a couple minutes after that. As we take a look at our high temperatures, you know, you want to bring that pattern, like you were saying. It was so hot for 10 days in a row. We had above average high temperatures, and then yesterday we changed it. 81, that was below average for the first day, so we broke that streak with the return of the marine layer and the onshore flow. Today we're going to continue the cooling trend, 78 degrees. That's below the average of 84. Our sunset time at 7:03. It's getting a little bit earlier and earlier as we head closer and closer to the autumnal equinox coming up September 22nd. Area of low pressure passing to our north. We've got another one behind it. That's going to actually help deepen the marine layer even more. We're going to perhaps get a chance for some light drizzle tomorrow morning. And as we look ahead to the latter part of this weekend into next week, perhaps a chance for some measurable rain. Look at that. Look at the clouds and even some of that green stuff showing up on the radar. That's indicating some moisture. When was the last time it rained, you may be asking? It's been a while. We have not had any rain this month so far, of course. It's been 130 days since we have seen measurable rain here in downtown LA. Do you remember back on Cinco de Mayo? That was the last time we had measurable rain in LA, and we got 13/100. So it's been a while. We have had a surplus, though. We had a lot of rain over the winter season, so we're 8 inches above seasonal norms. Look at the outlook beyond our 7-day forecast. It's going to stay cooler than average. Yes, I think we're going to have sweater weather as we get into certainly this weekend and into next week. Temperatures on the sand cool, 69 to 72 degrees. And here's our 7-day forecast. Don't get shocked by this, but 78 today for downtown LA. To just 70 degrees on Monday, barely out of the 60s. That means the valleys will be in the 70s. Up into the mountains, 73 today. Look at 54 on Monday. Overnight lows are going to be in the upper 30s to low 40s. So it's getting chilly up into the mountains. Even in the Coachella Valley, 101 today to just the 80s as we get to early next week. All right, let's check in on that drive now. Everybody's rattled. They're getting out the door, Samada.
Yeah.
How's the traffic now?
They sure are. A reminder, you want to drop cover and hold on when you are experiencing an earthquake. We were going to roll on into traffic. Yes, we do have a couple of hot spots out there. We're going to take over the West Covina area. A motorcycle-involved collision is blocking the HOV lane on the westbound side of the 10 at Azusa Avenue. We're getting word that the rider is down in a lane there. Several vehicles have stopped, and emergency crews are rushing to the scene, and we're already picking up the backup behind that collision. And over to Rancho Cucamonga, a vehicle collision there is blocking the fast lane on the westbound side of the 210 at Archibald Avenue. One vehicle not drivable. And of course, tow trucks are en route. The delays extend all the way to the 15. Rolling it back over to you guys.
Oh, gosh.
God, Samada.
No
We've got
kidding,
enough
right?
rolling this morning.
Yeah, enough rocking and rolling.
Yes.
By the way,
What's up?
everyone who experiences an earthquake, you handle it how you handle it, but handling it on live television is a whole new.
Well, there's two things that we were thinking about at the same time, right? Number one, how long is this going to last? Is it going to be one of those things where we're going to have to go underneath the desk? But also, we want to make sure that we're telling the information to you guys out there as well.
As we feel it and as we
Two distinct feelings.
Like, oh boy.
Yes.
When that little jolt hit, I was like, is this about to turn into really go there? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you got a lot of love for keeping calm, Melvin. So
yes, you did.
There you go.
I can be a pretty calm person in like crisis situations like that. Stuff like that happens. I am that like in my family when I was an educator when I was teaching.
Melvin,
you know,
our guiding lights, Melvin, to get us through.
Yeah, I mean,
thank you so much.
Although I was saying some explicatives in my head though. just know that too, everybody.
Just
thank
know
you
that what was
for
here
some
was
of the
not matching what was in here.
The comments, but I was like, oh my goodness, stay calm because my heart was racing, my stomach dropped. I'm like, just stay on.
Well, it's fun because people were writing into us saying they heard us talking about it and then they felt it.
Then they felt it.
I think it depends on where you live, right? Also, did you coordinate with Yamava this morning?
I did.
Yamava is very grateful for
I mean, but it's almost like the same hue.
We like to say Yellowva. We're Yellowva today. Yep,
Goldenva.
Goldenva, thank you. Entertainment is sponsored by Yamava Resort and Casino. You know the saying, hear no evil.
Yes.
See no evil. Thank you, Jen. And speak no evil.
Ooh.
Well, this month it's all about the speaking no evil. The new thriller from Universal stars James McAvoy. Now, you know him from Glass and the X-Men. Now the Scottish superstar is bringing the suspense, and I'm bringing a wee bit of Scottish.
I've always wanted a family like yours.
Listen, I've been to the Cotswolds before, but I've never been to Scotland. So I started doing a little research for when I do stay in your country home. It's a long way from home.
It's a long way for him.
From him? Yeah.
Home is home.
Home is home.
Yeah, I'm going home.
Should we start with maybe a Glasgow kiss?
Glasgow kiss is a headbutt.
Ah, okay, good.
No!
What is wrong with you? But you're definitely geeing it loudly.
Geeing it loudly.
In this film.
Not loudly, geeing it loudly.
Geeing it loudly.
Geeing it loudly means giving it a lot.
And you do. You listen, 5 years ago I told you that I took the James McAvoyage on your...
Oh, God, that's good.
I took the James McAvoyage on your Instagram.
The James McAvoyage?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good term. Okay, good. I like that.
And I sailed through your Instagram post. You're funny.
Thank you.
They're gonna kill us.
What?
He went dead. And you cook too? You cook Scottish food?
Do cook, yeah, I cook quite a lot.
So if you had your own bed and breakfast in your own country home, what are we making? What are we making?
What are we making? We are making square sausage and totty scone for breakfast, which is square sausage. It's kind of the clue is in the name. It's a beef patty that's is square, and you have that for breakfast. And totty scone is a potato scone. You're neither predator nor prey.
What makes home truly feel like home?
My bed, the people, my basement.
Your bed.
I love sitting in my basement.
Really? What's in there?
It's completely unrefurbished. I'm just sitting in the mud. No, it's just got all my stuff. It's got my wee gym. It's got my my laptop that I can do work on or play video games on with my son. I've got monkey bars in the ceiling that we swing on. It's like, don't look at this. If you were an 8-year-old, you'd be terrified of me.
You guys have been just a breath of fresh air.
Oh, well, that is very sweet of you to say.
Ooh, the eyes. The eyes.
All in the eyes, everybody.
I was telling you earlier, I'm like, his eyes, man, he's got attractive eyes. And then you're like, wait for it.
Wait for it.
Ooh.
It's the intensity.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, James McAvoy is one of the most versatile actors in the game right now because he definitely rides the line of being funny
and also terrifying.
Yeah. Did you see him in Split where he had 50 different personalities? That's talent.
I didn't see that movie, but I can see it going that direction.
Yes, that's
talent. Range,
including a woman. I mean, he's very talented. That leads us to our poll question of the day. Our We poll. We want to know if you speak another language. Yes, you're global. Nope, just one language for you, or maybe you want to learn. Maybe you've got Duolingo on your phone and you want to learn another language. Go to foxla.com/vote or scan that QR code to let us know. And at 11 a.m., I will let you know if you should screen it or stream it when it comes to Speak No Evil.
And we always follow your direction.
Thank you, my love.
I know, you are our guiding light. Okay, coming up.
I'm honest.
Yeah. We have a special guest who'll be joining us here in the studio.
That's right. She's the voice of Lisa Simpson. That's Yardley Smith in our Yamava Lounge. Coming up next, she and her husband are here to tell you about their new true crime podcast. But first, here's Samada with the check of that morning commute. What's up?
Oh my goodness, so excited, so excited. Good Day LA Traffic is sponsored by the law offices of Jacob and Ronnie, called jacob.com. We do have an issue in the West Covina area. Motorcycle-involved crash is blocking the HOV lane on the westbound side of the 10 at Azusa Avenue. The rider is down in a lane. Several vehicles have stopped. Emergency crews are rushing to the scene there. And over to Rancho Cucamonga, a vehicle collision is currently blocking the fast lane on the westbound side of the 210 at Archibald Avenue. One vehicle is not drivable. Tow trucks are en route. And a reminder to avoid the fire zones as fire crews continue to tackle the blazes, including near the airport fire. The 74 Ortega Highway is still closed in both directions until further notice. And now here's a look at some other traffic hotspots.
I was driving northbound on Figueroa Street, and all of a sudden I felt a huge impact. I called Jacob. The settlement that I received, never in my wildest dreams, but I figured that it would be a six-figure settlement. Call Jacob. Definitely. He is the real deal. Call Jacob.
Welcome back, 8:45 on this Thursday morning. If you felt it, yes, a 4.7 magnitude earthquake struck this morning, 7:28 this morning, centered 4 miles north of Malibu with 3 separate aftershocks. This earthquake was felt as far away as Burbank, Santa Clarita, Long Beach, and Anaheim. Lucy Jones, seismologist, says that people could feel the shaking up to 60 miles. No reports of any injuries. Luckily enough, we do have Coco McAvoy on her way to Malibu, and she'll have a live report in just a few minutes.
And here's a look from our Santa Monica camera during the earthquake. This is located at Wilshire and Ocean Avenue, as you can see. That camera shaking and rattling, especially because Santa Monica pretty close to Malibu where the quake was epicentered. Now to our Ontario camera from the Ontario airport during the quake. Everybody feeling it. I mean, Dr. Lucy Jones noted that folks are feeling it up to 60 miles away from that epicenter in the Malibu community, about 5 miles away from Westlake Village. So anyway, we'll have more continuing coverage on this 4.7 earthquake. But in the meantime,
let's get
we have a very special guest. Yes. So many of you know our next guest as one of the stars of the longest running TV show in history.
But you've never actually seen her on the show, okay?
Yes.
Yardley Smith has voiced Lisa Simpson for 36 seasons, not counting the Tracy Ullman show where The Simpsons started, if you may or may not know, before becoming a series. In fact, Smith was promoting the show when she met her husband.
Yeah, we're talking about Detective Dan, who was hired to protect her at an event. 2 years ago, they tied the knot, committing to each other. Then they committed to something else, a true crime podcast. Well,
hey everybody, it's Yardley. Welcome to season 15 of Small Town Dicks, where the cases are as real and harrowing as ever, and told, as always, by the detective who investigated it. Join me and the usual suspects on Friday, September 20th, as we launch a brand new season of Small Town Dicks.
Best name ever. Yeah. Best name ever for a podcast.
So Yardley is here with her husband, Detective Dan. Okay, but hold up a minute. Before we get to talking about this podcast, y'all actually met in Springfield.
Of all places.
How's that for serendipity and divinity around this?